Hi, this is Jackie Tantillo, and this is Should Have Listened to My Mother. This week's guest has an entire list of her accomplishments, or lists, I could say. She's an author. She's a volunteer. She's started organizations to help women and men and children empower themselves. Instead of me going down the entire list or lists, I just like to introduce to you Lisa Taitt Stevenson to Should Have Listened to My Mother.
Hello. Thank you for having me, Jackie. I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. And I want you to tell me, because I have pages and pages of research that I did on you, but who are you and how did you become who you are today is what I'm curious about.
Wow. I am a mom of three, married for the second time, left corporate America. I'm an author, a life coach, podcast host. Listen, I'm a jill of all trades, if you will. And I definitely have to say this is all due to my wonderful mother.
Yay!
All 5'4" of her, though on the inside, I think she's about 6'5" on the inside, when really she's just 5'1" at this moment because she's shrinking a little bit.
What's your mom's name?
My mom is Amy Taitt, T-A-I-T-T, Taitt.
And she looms larger than life, I guess, in your life.
Oh, my goodness. She was larger than life. It was just her and I. My mom and my dad separated when I was 5. So it was just her and I. But my mom was everything. She was my superhero, man. But, you know, from chasing perverts off of the train, stopping people. This one guy had his hand in her purse, and she grabbed his hand, and she said, when I let your hand go, it better come out empty-handed. And this guy was huge. And all I kept thinking was, we are going to get beat up on this train. But my mom, people were afraid of this little woman. It was amazing.
Yes. How great is that? So that's all that you knew was her strength.
Yeah. All I knew was her strength, and my mom was there for me every step of the way. You know, she taught me so much. You know, I don't think she even remembers this, but she said to me one day after we moved to Bed-Stuy, I don't know where this came from. Out of the blue, she said, if you get a reputation, I'm not moving. And that was like the end of the sentence. That was it. So I'm looking at her like, well, what in the world does that mean? But no sooner than she said that, I found out a friend of mine had began to gain a reputation that was not favorable. So my mom was essentially saying, if you get one, you're going to have to live with it. We're not running from it. So I would advise you right now to make sure that how you carry yourself out there is how you want to be known. And it was key for me. It really defined how I lived my life. But I really don't think I have to talk to her about that because I don't think she remembers she said that to me.
How old were you? Do you have any idea how old you were when that came up?
Can I tell you I was probably around 12 or 13 years old because I remember coming inside, you know, after I'm running around, sweating. I just came to get money because the ice cream truck was coming, and she just said it to me. You get a reputation, I am not moving. And I was like, okay,
wow.
Can I just have a quarter?
I wish I had said something like that when my boys were little. You know, just something like, whoop, we set the bar there and there's no discussion. I mean, my boys are great. I'm only teasing, but what insight. Now, where did your mom get it? Does she have that in her mom, your maternal grandmother?
Yes. So my mom was born in Trinidad, and there was 8 of them. So my grandmother very much instilled in them, you know, you be mindful of how you go out in the streets, and you never go out with rollers in your hair, and I never want to hear you yelling down the street. So they were very, you know, how you carry yourself. You cannot control how you're perceived, but you can control how you're presented. So my mom definitely passed that on to me. There was something she didn't pass on to me that she now tells me, make sure you don't do that with your children, and I'm grateful for that. But as far as me being mindful of how I'm presented, she very much instilled that in me.
Did your mom live most of her life in Trinidad, or was she here in the U.S. at a young age?
She came in the U.S. when she was 24. She's been here quite a while. She's 76 now. But because she grew up in Trinidad and my grandmother did, worked so hard for the 8 of them, my mom tended to spoil me. So she did everything for me. So when I left my house at 27, my mom was still washing my clothes. So when I lived by myself, I was a mess. And I mean, literally a mess. I didn't clean. I didn't know how to cook. So one of the things my mom said to me was, make sure when you have your children, you teach them how to do these things, because I realized I didn't do a good job in that part. So I was really grateful that she recognized that and reminded me to not do the same thing with my children.
I wonder why she spoiled you, though, because it wasn't like she was given abundance, or was she as a child? I mean, it seems like she had a pretty straightforward upbringing where her mom taught her things and they had to be a part of the big family. She wanted to give you what she didn't have, maybe?
Yes, exactly. She really did. And we didn't have a lot. We didn't have a lot, but I didn't realize how much we didn't have, because she definitely tried to make sure that I had most of the things that I wanted. I never had a regular lunch. So, when my friends were having, like, bologna sandwiches and hot dogs, I was having, split pea soup. And I was like, Mom, can I just have, like, normal food? But
oh, that rings home. That rings home big time. My mom used to make sandwiches with, like, big stalks of celery coming out of the bread and all these vegetables and things. But it turns out my older sisters one of them would hide it in their desk and they would never eat because they were mortified. And another sister, her friends would say, can I have your sandwich?
Are you serious?
Yeah, but it was the same thing. Our food was very unusual. It wasn't the, typical American white bread. So I
Right.
totally understand that. I get that one for sure.
Yeah, but it's interesting because I realize now, because of that, now I absolutely love sandwiches. Like, I love hot dogs and I love cold cut sandwiches, and I realize it's because I never had them.
That's great. That's great, because now you have best of both worlds. Did your mom work?
My mom worked. She worked 9 to 5 in an insurance company. I was a latchkey kid very early on. Fortunately, my school was literally across the street from my house, and my landlady always looked out for me. So my mom worked a lot, which was hard. But, she had to do what she had to do. But she was, Mom was great. She was great. She got me out of so many situations and was always there. And she was my best friend. She always said to me, if you ever have a secret that you don't want anyone to know about, tell your mother, because whether I'm upset with you or not, I will never share it. I have nothing to gain. Your friends now, if they're mad, they may spill the beans. So very early on, I had this very safe space with her. And I created that with my children. And I really appreciated that she allowed me that space with her, where I could really tell her absolutely anything. Even and she said to me, sometimes she would leave the bedroom and she'd be cringing, like, oh, my gosh, I can't believe my child has told me that. But she knew.
Wait a minute. Like what? What do you remember? Was it something about a physical relationship or something? Or?
Oh, yeah. Like relationships, intimacy questions when I was younger. Hey, Mom, what is this? And I'd, like, really be out with it. And she'd be like, well, let me think about that for a moment. And she said she'd leave the room and she'd be like, oh, my God, my child. But she knew the moment she showed that emotion, I would clam up.
Right.
But she had to be, like, calm and cool. And I hold on to that. Up to this day, I still tell her things. I'm sure she's still like, God, why are you still telling me this? But I'm like, you started this, woman.
Well, you guys, I guess you were BFFs, and you were mother-daughter, and you were that security blanket for each other. There's so much meaning and love in that relationship. It's not your typical mother-daughter thing. You guys shared everything.
Yeah, we really did. and I absolutely adore my mom, which is why it's interesting that I see her now get older, and I go, wow, my superhero actually can age. Like, that's amazing to me. But she's still, she's still my superhero. Like, okay, so I have, like, this horrible thing for bugs, and my mom lives probably 25 minutes away from me, and there was a spider in my basement. And can I tell you, my mother got her husband up, and she's like, that's it, we have to go. We have to go kill the spider. They drove over here, and my mom killed the spider. I said to her, you...
After all that you do and you're present on these corporate boards and organizing hundreds of women and all, you can't kill a spider. I mean, I love bugs. I mean, I'm not saying everyone has to kill a spider, but...
I can't do it. God didn't give me that, okay? He gave me everything else, and he said, look, this is where you're going to lack. You and bugs will not be friends, but your mom is going to rescue, and my mom came. I love her.
I think that's a big part of it. You just love your mom so much. It was great to have her by your side and comfort you and give you that strength.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Did your mom trust in many other people to leave you in someone else's care?
You know what? It really was just my mom, because it was just her and I. She was very mindful of the people that she brought around me. So she didn't leave me with many people. As far as boyfriends, she waited a really long time to have one. By the time she ended up getting married again, I was grown. So my mom was my mother, my father. She was my superhero. If there was any challenge, any battle, it was my mom who I went to. And if mom couldn't fix it, I figured we were doomed. Like, that was it. There was no one else to go to. It was mom. I remember there was this guy on the train exposing himself. My mother called this man out on this. He literally ran off the train.
The man ran away?
He ran away. She called him out. She told everybody, look at that nasty man. I felt so bad for that man.
Wait a minute.
Exactly.
So she didn't cover your eyes and say, Lisa, don't look. She just let him have it.
She let him have it because I said, Mom, I whispered. I said, Mom, that man right there, look, he's exposing himself. And she said, where? And she moved me to the side, and she looked, and that was all it took. She let him have it, and he ran off the train.
She stood in front of you. She protected you first, and then she went at it. Oh, she's great.
She's amazing. She's amazing, and I love her to death for it.
Have you replicated her determination and ideas and morals in your children?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I definitely got my mom's work ethic. The one thing I did not get from my mom is the ability to, wear makeup and stuff. My mom was gorgeous and put on makeup and did her hair and got dressed and wore heels. And I said, clearly that completely skipped me. I am a sneaker-wearing, ponytail-having, maybe lip gloss on a good day person. At Oppenheimer, I didn't wear makeup. I wore my lip gloss. I wore my sneakers. I had an incredible manager that said, you know what, Lisa, if that's how you feel comfortable, just come in and do your job.
Bravo. That's what it's. Makeup isn't going to make you better at your job, that's for sure. So if there's any message, that's the best. Come as you are.
Absolutely. Because the heels was not going to make me work any harder.
Right.
So let me be comfortable, and I will give you my absolute best. But I got her work ethic. Her love and protection for me, I definitely have for my children. She definitely taught me how to ensure that I have a relationship with my children where they can talk to me, still respect me, but be able to feel comfortable enough and safe with their mom. You want your children to be able to come to you. If they have a problem, I want them to come to me first. I get that your friends feel comfortable and you want to go to your friends, but at least I know I'm going to try to give you the absolute best information for you. not just something I kind of found or what's trending or what's, in right now. So my mom has given me a lot of gems to pass on to my children.
Lots of gifts to pass on,
Yeah.
right? So we've talked about how strong she is. Did you ever see her vulnerable and down or emotional, overwhelmed?
I would see her every now and again feel a bit overwhelmed when she didn't realize I was looking. My mom didn't allow me to see that too much as I was young. I see it more now, because as you get older, the roles tend to reverse. So now I tend to do the mom thing, and she'll call me, and she's like, Lisa, what do you think I should do about this? So now I get to be her rock, which I love because she's been my rock for so long. So I get to see those vulnerable parts of mom now. I get to see, her fears and her worries, and I get to say to her, Mom, we're going to be okay. You did it for me. Because she'll say, well, don't do it, I'll be fine. And I'm like, you did it for me for years. I can be there for you.
She's willing to accept help now.
She's definitely willing to accept help.
Oh,
she definitely is, and I'm glad about that.
Your mom, Amy, sounds pretty great. I'd love to meet her.
You know what? Let me tell you, everyone that meets my mom loves my mom. I still have people that I grew up with that says, hey, how's Mama Taitt? Where's Mom? And they adore her. She would race against these kids. She would feed everybody. Everybody would come to the house, and she would cook dinner. They love my mother. They love this woman. It's amazing. Even now, my children's friends love my mom. When is your mom coming over? And I'm like, I thought you came to see me. I didn't know you came to see my mother.
What kind of food? Oh, I'm thinking of her native food. What kind of food would she cook that your friends would like?
Oh my gosh! When they come over, my mom cooks curry chicken. She cooks curry shrimp. She cooks fried fish. She cooks rice and peas. And then she says to them, whatever you want me to make for you, honey, I'll make it. Just let me know in advance. So many people have placed orders with my mom, and I have to say, can you at least cook just a side dish for me, Mom?
Wow, that's pretty great. And it's just effortless because she's got so much love. It's just all part of it, right?
Yes, it is. She still comes and cooks for me. Her and my husband have the best relationship. She adores him. She still comes over here, and, if I'm not feeling well, I said, Mom, can you just come cook me some soup? And she's like, I'm on my way. But I think there's something she gains out of still being able to do that. I love going back to that place where I'm not feeling well, and I get to be that little girl again. And my mom comes, and she'll cook, and she'll stay with me. And there's nothing like it. It's true when they say, no one can make you feel like your mom makes you feel. No one can. She drives me crazy sometimes. But I love her. I absolutely love that woman. And there is nothing I wouldn't do for her.
You think that everybody else's life is similar, and I've had this conversation with a couple of my guests in the past, that they think that that's the normal family relationship, that everybody loves each other and just has so much fun together. And then you find out it's not the same with all families. The love and the hugs just aren't there in some households.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. When COVID hit and I could not hug my mom, when we first kind of heard about it and we weren't really sure, how is this thing being transmitted? What do we do? Do we really have to stay away? And I went to bring her groceries because I said, I don't want you going to the supermarket. I want you and Grandpa to be safe. And I couldn't hug her. It broke my heart. I'm so used to, I go and I hug my mom. So not being able to hug her for those first couple of months was one of the most difficult times for me. That was really, really difficult. And it was almost to the point where I was willing to risk it to hug her. It was so hard to be that close and be that far apart from her.
I believe you have a similar story, one of fear or the thought of maybe losing your mom back from 9/11. Would you want to share that story with us?
Absolutely. That was an interesting day. I left my daughter, and she was very, very, very clingy. And my daughter, by no means, was a clingy child. She was 2 years old at the time. I didn't fully understand the need. And I kind of said, okay, sweetie, I have to go to work. And I went. And, when I got in the office, I had not gone upstairs. I had promised I was going to stop shopping. So I was going to go straight upstairs. I worked in the World Trade Center. So, there were all those wonderful stores. And every time I went to the turnstile to go upstairs, something said, don't. So I turned back. And the third time I turned back and I went into a store, and the first plane hit. And as I ran from the building, I was like, okay, I have to get to my mom. The second plane had hit when I was on the phone with my first husband. He said, calm down, the second plane hit. And I said, no, another plane just hit. This is it. We're going to die. And I knew I was going to die. I figured my daughter was 2. She didn't have enough history with me to miss me. She'll be okay. My husband, I figured, he'll be fine. We were having our challenges. He'll be fine. Let me just get my mom so I could die with my mom. My mom worked blocks for me. I just have to get to my mother. Let me just die with my mother. And I left that corner to run to my mom, and you would think my fear would be dying, but my fear was that I was dying and I had not left an impact. I had not done anything major, or so I thought. But being a good daughter, I was a mother, I was a wife, but they would just know me to be nice. So I ran and I got to my mom. She had left the building to come look for me, and I knew she would because we were all we had. And when I got there, the gentleman said, your mom just left. And I'm thinking, oh, my God, where's my mom? And he says, I'll go get her. I'll find her. And he found her for me, and it still makes me want to cry. And she came in, and it's crazy. I knew in my mind we were going to die, but I was like, I'm okay now because I'm with my mom. Wherever we go from this point on, I'm going to be with my mom. That was my thing. I need to die with my mom. This was the only person that I had, interestingly, for me, in my life at that point. It was like, wow, I started with just my mom, and I'm going to leave here with just my mom. It would just be me and her. Fortunately, we made it out of Manhattan on the final train heading into Brooklyn, and by the time the buildings fell, I was actually on her bed, sitting on her bed watching, TV. But it was hard because you deal with survivor's guilt. Why me? Why me? Out of all those people that didn't make it, why? Why didn't we make it out? But that was rough. I remember getting my mom and I'm looking to her, but I realized at that moment my mom was looking to me. But what do we do? And something kicked in, and I said, let's go to the ATM, let's get some money, because if we're going to get out of here, we need to have some money so we can at least, I don't know, get a cab, get a car. I didn't know what the money was going to do for us, but we needed money, and we needed a way. So we got some money, and I found a train, and we made it out. But it was interesting how in that moment I ran to my mom for comfort, and the look on her face said to me, I don't know what's going on right now. I need you to take over. And something kicked in. So I'm grateful for her because I know the only reason I could even have the wherewithal to do that is because of my mom and because of the things she's instilled in me. That's the only reason I could think clear enough that day, make the moves that I made, and get us home.
It's interesting in a time of stress and anxiety and trauma, some people are able to turn it on. Like all of a sudden it's like, okay, focus. I have to survive or I have to get out of here. And you wanted to protect your mom, right? You wanted to protect your mom. And so you took over and took care of her. Your life changed. You've organized not-for-profits. You've organized and volunteered at corporations. 9/11 was a new beginning for you in a way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. After September 11th, as I indicated, I went through survivor's guilt. I didn't understand. I was depressed. I had a very dear friend of mine pull me out of my home, and they had something going on at the hospital for 9/11 victims and survivors, and she read a poem saying, he's not finished with you yet. And it was like something clicked. You know, I had a challenging childhood with things that happened in my life, being molested from 4 to 8. And something along the way told me my pain was for my purpose. So being in a challenging marriage at the time where people didn't see my pain, I had decided to spend the rest of my days looking beyond the smile that we as women tend to plaster on to hide the pain, with the hope that someone will notice the pain and just ask the right question. You know, we live our life on autopilot where we pass one another, and by the time we say, hey, how are you doing, we didn't even hear the response because we're gone. So since then, I've started women's groups, I volunteered, I empower women, I try to help women navigate these waters. I look past the smiles. I try to see you. I peek behind the curtain to see each individual as they are. And I live my life on purpose and with intention. I lived on autopilot, so I lived every single day on purpose, for a purpose, and with purpose.
Is this your line, I believe? Let us never forget the power of we.
Yes. It's only we. We are going to get through COVID. We will get through this economic situation. We will get through, we got through 9/11. It is the power of we. Closed mouths don't get fed. We have to be able to reach out to one another and lean on one another and say, do you need help? And not only wait for somebody to say that, but say, I need help. Can you help me? I'm in need. Can you do, the worst thing someone can say to you is no. And if they say no, another will come up. They really will. But sometimes all it takes is for you to ask. You know how often somebody will say, well, if you would have just asked me, and then we sit in a space of, well, you should have known. We can't continue living life like everybody read the book on Lisa. I'm not doing that anymore. I need to say, let me let you know what Lisa means.
And let me tell you who Lisa is. Lisa Taitt Stevenson.
Exactly.
I'm Jackie Tantillo. You've been listening to another edition of Should Have Listened to My Mother. Lisa, do you have a website that people can go to if they'd like to find out more information about you?
I absolutely do. It is www.Lisa, V as in victory, Taitt, T as in Tom, AITT, Stevenson.org. And on there you can find the books, the podcast, life coaching sessions, fireside chats, anything you need.
You can find Should Have Listened to My Mother on Facebook and Instagram. And Lisa, please say hello to your mom.
I definitely will, Jackie. Thank you.
Thanks so much.